When most people think of July 4th, 1776, they imagine fireworks, cheering crowds, and a room full of brave men boldly signing a document that instantly created the United States of America. But that version of history is incomplete, because July 4th wasn't the moment America was born, it wasn't the moment independence was won, and it definitely wasn't the moment everyone agreed. The real story of July 4th, 1776 is messier, more uncertain, and far more human. This is the history you were never taught. By the summer of 1776, the American colonies were already in deep trouble. For more than a year, they had been fighting the most powerful empire on earth, Great Britain. British troops were disciplined, well-funded, and experienced. The colonial militias were undertrained, underpaid, and constantly running out of supplies. George Washington's army was struggling just to survive. Many colonists still considered themselves loyal British subjects. Others wanted reform, not independence, and some wanted nothing to do with the conflict at all. The colonies were divided, yet tensions had been building for decades. After the French and Indian War, Britain was deeply in debt. To recover, Parliament imposed new taxes on the colonies: the Stamp Act, the Townshend Acts, and later the Tea Act. The colonists had no representatives in Parliament. To them, this wasn't taxation, it was exploitation. The phrase, "no taxation without representation," spread like wildfire. Protests turned violent. Boycotts escalated. British soldiers fired into crowds, killing civilians in what became known as the Boston Massacre. Then came the Boston Tea Party. By 1775, fighting had already broken out at Lexington and Concord. Blood had been spilled. The war had effectively begun. But independence? That was still considered radical. Many colonists feared it would lead to chaos, economic collapse, or total defeat. Breaking away from Britain meant risking everything. And yet, something was changing. In January 1776, a small pamphlet appeared across the colonies. It was titled Common Sense, written by Thomas Paine. In simple language, Paine argued something revolutionary: that kings were unnecessary, that monarchy was a corrupt system, that independence wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. The pamphlet spread fast. Ordinary people, farmers, craftsmen, laborers, began to believe independence wasn't madness, it was destiny. By June 1776, pressure was mounting on the Second Continental Congress, meeting in Philadelphia. On June 7th, Richard Henry Lee of Virginia stood before Congress and proposed a resolution that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. The room went silent. This wasn't symbolic. This was a declaration of rebellion. Congress knew that if they approved this, there would be no turning back, so they delayed. They formed a committee to draft a formal statement explaining why independence was necessary, both to their own people and to the world. The committee included Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston. Jefferson, just 33 years old, was chosen to write the first draft. He worked alone late into the night in a rented room. Drawing from Enlightenment philosophy, especially John Locke, Jefferson wrote about natural rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But here's the part textbooks often skip. Jefferson's original draft strongly condemned slavery, blaming King George III for forcing it upon the colonies. Southern delegates were furious. They threatened to walk out. To preserve unity, Congress removed the passage entirely. From the very beginning, America's founding document carried a contradiction, declaring all men equal while allowing slavery to continue. On July 2nd, 1776, Congress finally voted on independence, and this is crucial. July 2nd, not July 4th, was the day the colonies officially voted to break away from Britain. John Adams believed July 2nd would be remembered forever. He even wrote to his wife Abigail saying it would be celebrated with pomp and parade. He was wrong. 2 days later, on July 4th, Congress approved the final wording of the Declaration of Independence. That's what we commemorate, not the vote, not the victory, but the explanation. The Declaration was not a law. It didn't create a government. It didn't end the war. It was a message to King George III, a message to foreign powers like France, and a message to the American people. It said, This is why we are fighting. Ironically, most people didn't hear it on July 4th. The document was printed and distributed over the following days and weeks. In many towns, it was read aloud publicly, sometimes met with cheers, sometimes with silence. In New York City, George Washington had it read to his troops on July 9th. Afterwards, soldiers and civilians tore down a statue of King George III and melted it into bullets. But celebration was far from universal. For loyalists, colonists who supported Britain, July 4th marked the beginning of persecution, exile, and loss. Many fled to Canada or England. For enslaved people, the Declaration's words rang hollow. Some escaped to British lines, where they were promised freedom in exchange for service. For Native Americans, independence would soon mean expansion, displacement, and violence. And for the Continental Army, the hardest years were still ahead. The war dragged on for 7 more brutal years. American cities were occupied. Soldiers froze and starved. Desertion was common. Independence wasn't secured until 1783, when Britain formally recognized the United States. So what is July 4th really? It's not the birth of a nation in the way we imagine. It's a declaration of intent, a gamble, a collective act of defiance with no guarantee of success. The men who signed the Declaration knew this. They weren't celebrating. They were risking their lives. If they lost, they would be hanged as traitors. The famous final line of the Declaration says they pledged to each other their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. That wasn't poetry. It was a warning. Some lost everything. Some died poor. Some never saw the country they imagined fully realized. July 4th is not a story of instant freedom. It's a story of contradiction, of courage mixed with compromise, of ideals written on paper long before they were honored in reality. And maybe that's the real meaning of July 4th, 1776. Not perfection, but aspiration. A moment when people dared to say what should be true, even though they were far from living up to it. The United States wasn't born finished, it was born unfinished. And the struggle to close the gap between those words and reality is still ongoing today. That is the real history of July 4th, 1776.